Hello, so today I'm going to talk about world building when you are writing a novel or a short story. So when you're writing a book, it is important to have a world set out and to have this world set out in your brain so you know what's going to happen, in which places, where everything's going to be, if a place has a certain tie to a character or anything like that, and what kinds of things you would like to see in the world. For me, the most important thing about world building when I'm creating a book is to make it believable. Now, you can't read a book that is in a completely fantastical world without having something there to tie it to something that you know, or something that is kind of similar to what you've seen before, what you've heard before, something that the reader can read it and think, oh, okay, so this is kind of like this place, somewhere that it registers in your brain. So if you're describing, I don't know, a mythical forest, for example, or something like that, it's got to almost be believable, almost be in our world, but obviously with that fantastical element to go with it. If you're describing a futuristic city, most people are going to see it in their brain as something that we have now, a main city that we've got now with the skyscrapers and everything like that, but maybe there will be more glass and maybe things will be flying and things, so it's almost got to be things that we have now but built on. I think in the world building it is important to have a lot of description about the places so you know what it looks like when you're going through it in your mind. Because I know for me, when I read a book, it's almost as if the words on the page disappear and I see an image on the page instead of the words. I don't know if anybody else reads in that way or if that's just the way my brain processes it. So for me, it's important to have a lot of description of what is happening in the world and what is there, so that I can build that picture up in my mind. Another important thing about world building is that you don't want to contradict yourself. You don't want to have something next to something that it shouldn't be, if that makes sense. Say you are building a world and you have your characters going through a forest and they've been walking through this rainforest for the last God knows how long. They've been going through a rainforest, and then the next thing they come across is an icy glacier. Because that doesn't work in your brain. Your brain's going to look at that and think, oh wait, hang on, there's something not right here. Have I missed a chapter in the book where they went from this lovely warm rainforest to this glacier? Or another example may be if they've been travelling somewhere and it has taken them several months to travel somewhere, several years to travel somewhere, and then they do whatever it is they need to be doing, and then on the way back it takes them a longer time or a shorter time, and there's no reason for that. If they get caught up in a battle, or they stop off somewhere for a few weeks or something, then you can understand a time change, but you can't just take a long period of time for something and then a short period of time for another when they're going through the same area, if that makes sense. Another important factor in world building is to make your world unique. You don't want to be using the same descriptions and the same areas as another writer. So if you're writing I don't know, for example, a high fantasy or something like that, you don't want to be using the same world as Lord of the Rings, for example. You don't want to have the same kind of the build as that. You need to create it all in your mind. Now, I know it helps with some people to work out mapping of your own world is to draw out a map. George R.R. Martin, I know, did that when he was writing up the Game of Thrones. He drew out a map of Westeros and everywhere else so that he knew how big everything was, which territories each house took over. He drew in the narrow sea and everything on the other side of that. That helps some people if you have a big fantastic world that you're going to build. For me, when I'm writing, I know it's all in my head, and I know where everything is and what everything is going to be and where everything is going to be, and I don't know, you've just got to find your own way of building your own world. I would love to know if anybody else has any tips on world building that I haven't mentioned here, or if you have any ways of remembering where each thing in your fantastical world is. So for me, for now, that's goodbye.